Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on WINNMedia 98.9. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another episode of Island Tea with your faves, Kevon and Azem, featuring Jade, who just gets on my nerves. It is Monday, March 15th, 8:13 a.m. How's everybody doing today?
Kevon, it is. I'm doing well. It was an uneventful weekend, usual guns, drugs, sex, danger. Not much.
Oh,
How about you, Jade?
Okay. Well, mine ain't had none of that.
No?
Mine was just regular. I said, what kind of
Mine was
weekend do you be having?
right?
I just went to a little, game night and had some wine with the girls.
Okay, hold on.
As them
Hold on,
like,
hold on.
he was out there living like a rockstar.
There's few things more dangerous than a game night, especially when you're playing games like Pictionary and Taboo.
Yeah, we didn't have those. We had something similar to Taboo, right? I am convinced that our culture doesn't care about anything but alcohol. I've never seen a game made for drinking.
No.
I mean, eating. Like, there's never been an invitation to say, yeah, come, let's, come over by me, let's eat. It's always, come, let's have some games and drink and stuff. So there was this one game, and every single piece is like Taboo, but for alcohol. So every single square has something about either I have to drink, everybody have to drink, you have to drink.
We all just
We
drink.
love to
Everybody
see
just drink. This game was ridiculous, I swear.
Yeah.
I was scared.
See, and you're telling me, you had more danger than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
You might have a point.
Well, let me tell you what my weekend comprised, which was absolutely nothing at all. So I think I'm the safe one here because one had a binge weekend, the other one had a binge weekend, and I'm just chilling. So.
Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, even though last night, my night was kind of eventful. Something happened that I was just like, wow.
Well, thankfully we could address it with the good people because
Yeah, but
the story you tell me was it was wild.
Today's the day?
traffic. No, traffic days. There's a traffic issue.
Okay.
A traffic issue.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So we postpone gear to be ground.
Yeah.
We
Well,
might
it's a
not make it
different
till
gear.
Thursday,
It's
but
just a
we
different
postpone
gear.
it.
Yeah, that one there Thursday.
Yeah, but before
I gave them a warning.
you did?
Yeah.
Oh well, there we go. Well, before we grind those gears, Kevon, and I know we have something that we wanted to talk about.
Which was it stressed me out. However,
No,
so
hello.
on
Stop,
some quick
stop.
tea time,
Hello, no,
Yeah.
that's not acceptable. Please to give the people what they come here for every morning.
the singing.
Yes. Duh. They're coming for us.
One moment. Oh, who are they coming for?
They're
They're
singing.
coming for just my singing.
Yes.
I tell y'all, I'm a superstar, you know.
We know, that's why we're telling you this.
So, let me hold on. Ready? We ready?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Tea time.
I give it a 10.
So,
Mm.
you give me what?
A 10.
A 10 out of 10?
Especially for a Monday morning.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's a Monday morning, and I was laying down right before I turned on the camera, so. So let's talk about something that happened over the last few days in St Kitts and Nevis. So most people would have heard about it already, but some might not have. Let me move my water out of the way. So the National COVID-19 Task Force is they're addressing two security breaches that occurred within the last 4 days at a resort on Nevis that had been approved to offer guests a vacation in place quarantine option, which permits guests who test negative for COVID-19 upon arrival to utilize the services and amenities of the resort without leaving the property. Investigations into the matter have revealed that the first of these two incidents, so two separate incidents that occurred, same resort. So the first occurred on Thursday evening and involved two guests who illegally left the resort's premises for approximately 2 hours. The second security breach took place after midnight on Saturday morning and involved 6 guests who also managed to leave the resort's compound without authorization. The general public is advised that all 8 of these individuals have been removed from the resort and are now housed in a government quarantine site until their departure, while they await their hearing before a magistrate to answer charges for breaking the country's quarantine guidelines. Jesus be offense. So in light of the successive
We really
security
need
breaches,
offense.
which are serious offenses, the task force. What?
So we really need a fence. Jesus or whatever.
Yeah,
else.
we do. Like a little, please, Jesus, build a fence, because clearly this ain't enough. Yeah, people don't know to stay in place. But the task force suspended the vacation in place designation for the tour group at the resort until all matters are fully investigated and satisfactory corrective measures are put in place for the security lapses.
You see,
Oh,
this is what happened when people don't value other people's lives or country, when they just see it as a vacation spot and not that our actual country economy is running. Like, why would you do that?
People self-absorbed. People
Yeah,
only care about themselves and their own needs and wants.
and the fact that this happened at the same place, two separate instances, I feel like that place needs to be looked at. The security,
over this,
something with
and
the security
is
ain't working, because 6 people.
right. And the fact that it's not just, well, it's eight.
Yes, I
But
know.
the
I'm
thing is,
talking about the
At
fact
one
that
time, like, yeah.
six
all at
whole
once.
people
So
at
it was
once
six
is
all
a
at
lot.
once, right? The thing is, for me, is one happened on Thursday where two managed to sneak off the property, and the next one happened on Saturday. So a mere 48 hours later, another 6 people get to waltz off the property.
Yeah, when you would think that after the first incident you would be on guard, right?
Right.
At
You would think that the
least.
first breach would make them amp up their the little security and say, okay, well, two just sneak off the property. Let's beef up security, because clearly the security we had in place would allow those two to waltz off. And then not just that, but 6 waltz off the property a few days later.
And Nevis is such a small country. You literally could have easily had a whole community. And I mean, we don't even know yet, because I'm sure they're still investigating and doing the checks and all of that. But you're putting people's country at risk for what? You have a vacation in place. This is what you signed up for. You already know it was what you were getting, because you literally signed up for it. And not even that you
Right,
could
just
satisfy with. You
leave,
mean you have to do
it's-
some extra stuff in a pandemic.
It's really frustrating, if we have to be honest, because it's just like, and like you said, Jade, the circumstances you have to arrive upon arriving, because all of this has to be done before you even set foot on the country's soil. So it's not like you reach and then they say, oh, so you have to quarantine and you have to this, and you're just discovering all of these things.
Exactly.
These things are happening because you have to pre-book all of these. You have to pre-book your destination. You have to pre-book your quarantine choice. You have to do all of these things. So it's not like it's a surprise to you. You show up
just to get here. The process is
I
crazy.
want to do this no more.
Exactly.
Just to get here initially, the process is crazy. So you're very well aware of what is
Right.
expected.
And then you're gonna come here and do your nonsense. I hope you see, this is why they should have made an example out the first person. So these people now would have known or realized, like, okay, well, if I do these things, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be a harsh punishment. You're going to either have to pay this extreme amount of money, or you have to go to jail. And I don't think that's any of those options is options that they want to deal with. So I'm actually interested in seeing what the penalties would be for all these 8 people. Because I need to see
Right.
something
It's
serious. I don't
just
want to see a
ridiculous,
little
like-
fine of, like, what the last fine was? 5,000?
$1,200
$10.
Yeah, may want to see that. We need better than that, because if that don't deter people from sneaking off a compound, all 6 people sat in a room and decided, you know what? We can sneak off the compound and just go roaming.
And
In a
6
pandemic-
and a 6. 6.
8 whole
My
people
God.
in the course of what? 3 days, 4 days, decided, you know what? I gonna just do what I want. Like, although y'all tell
And then
me
see
you're
somebody
supposed to be
else's-
quarantined, I gonna do what I want.
Right. Somebody here on the live is saying that they can't see why they would take your hard-earned money to go on vacation to be restricted. That is not a vacation of stupidity. And I have to agree. If you know you can't manage this lock, you have to stay in place for 14 days. If you know you ain't want to fly here to deal with that, don't come. Go to a different location.
But it's not like they're even flying here and having a regular 14 days, you know. They're still having some sort of vacation because that's what they booked for. They literally paid for this.
Because they're able to use the amenities and stuff at the hotel, right? At the resort, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
I
have,
had
they
like
have, they have.
a
So
vacation in
well,
place. I stick it.
speaking from
a vacation in
most
place.
of the hotels that I've been to that have, they allow you the locals to go and purchase things. Most of them, like for the Marriott, for example, they have certain nights where guests can use certain facilities, and while they are being allowed to use the facilities, it is off limits to the public. So like they would tell you the casino is open to the guests during this and this day, but it's not available to the public. And then on the weekend it's available to the public and not the guests. So I'm assuming that's sort of standard because we also saw that being explained at the Royal St Kitts.
Well,
I
So
think
I'm
the Royal
assuming
St
it's going to
Kitts.
be the same.
I think the Royal St Kitts actually stop the
Yeah,
guests from being
yeah.
able to
Yeah,
roam the ground.
I
It's
think
like you have
they
to stay.
changed
I think
it.
you're going to go to your landing.
Well, two people just
Right, so I
messaged me.
think-
One of them is saying that they had pre-approved activities that they put in place for them, and then someone else told me that what made it worse is that they were at a bar, and the patrons at the bar weren't following protocol, so everybody just at the bar chilling. Well, Corona just
Okay.
floating probably. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But these things can happen. These things can happen. We're not. I know we want to feel like we don't have no corona in the country and these things, but look how easily a case of community spread could happen, because you can't. As much as you try to control people, some adults just feel like they could do what they want, and they're doing what they want,
Right.
putting other adults at risk.
There's
Charged.
so somebody else here is saying it's quite possible that they could have paid a particular security guard to look the other way. They need to be made examples of to others. Again, there's so many ways this thing could have gone. It could have been that nobody was looking. It could have been a case where, like this commenter is saying, could have been a case where the a little close your eyes, let me walk kind of situation, but we don't know yet, and that's where the investigation comes in. But something went wrong twice, and it needs to be addressed, because first two people get to start to waltz off the property and were gone for 2 hours. The next group, a whole taxi full of people. I don't think they're traveling in a taxi, but 6 people. That's a lot of people to exit a compound. Like, it's stressful.
Yeah, where you going after 12 in the night, right?
Where who?
Yeah, because it's about midnight. They said the group left, right? But I mean,
Yeah,
the truth
it
is,
says after midnight. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of different ways this could happen. I guess it's now for the authorities to investigate, to figure out exactly what happened, so that we could try and put things in place to avoid it. And I do know that the properties could be threatened to have the permission to even provide this service revoked. So
Right.
if you can't do what you're supposed to do, you can't hold up your end of the bargain, then
Yeah, because if I'm the
Then
people in
you-
charge
yeah.
of giving these permissions, and whole 6 people sneak off your property, now I might be inclined to revoke whatever deal we had, because I can't guarantee that you can keep the country safe, which is,
And this is
I'm
how
pretty sure
the
part of the
saying
deal that we
one
had.
spoil it for all does come in.
Sorry.
Let me read the next portion of this. So it says, as a result of the 2 security breaches, the first one being 2 individuals and the second one being 6 individuals, the fact that the 8 guests may have come into contact with a number of local individuals at a night spot in Nevis, an aggressive contact tracing exercise has been started by the Ministry of Health. This process will result in the quarantine and testing of the individuals who may have been exposed to the 8 guests of the resort, in an effort to control the spread of the infection should any one of the 8 guests test positive. So the National COVID-19 Task Force remains vigilant in working with the state agencies to protect the country's borders, to control the spread of COVID and ensure that all of the protocols and everything are being followed. So the task force will continue to provide updates on the matters at hand. And I also have to say again, we have to give the task force all the flowers that we have to give, because they've been doing a great job so far. And like I said, being in, and not to talk bad of Antigua, because that's not what I'm trying to do, but seeing how St. Kitts operates compared to Antigua, it was significantly different. Like, you can just see the effort that showed me the physical effort that the task force has been putting in, because we get sort of lost in the world when we're living in it. And as a Kittitian, this is just your everyday. But then when you step outside and you realize that a lot of things are just not happening the way it happens for you, it's a bit of a wake-up call. So we have to applaud them for doing all of this and keeping everything happening. And we also have to, applaud them for talking, because they could have hushed this whole thing, but they've been talking and they've been saying what's been happening. So we also have to applaud them for the transparency.
Yeah, definitely. I do think there's a lot of effort being made to live up to the gold standard in terms of protocols and what's put in place. I think that when it's all said and done, that is I really think that is part of the mindset governing how the actions are being done. So the other thing too is, like, how crazy this is now. Like, you're just gone somewhere to hang out or whatever, and because of these actions, the people in isolation.
Yeah, like I just got out.
That's the crazy thing.
You can't go walk, like, your children them home want to know, like,
what happened to you?
where daddy go?
Why they can't see mommy, and why mommy locked up in a room for the next 14 days. And this is also why we have to constantly preach to the public, wear your mask, sanitize, because you don't know if you are going to be that person that is in this situation that you did not see coming. Because nobody told these guests to go off the property. They took it upon themselves to break the rules and put other people at risk for their own enjoyment. And I hope the persons that they would have come into contact with were sanitizing and wearing masks and trying to keep their distance, because that would also play a big role into how this thing plays out. Yeah.
Well, we just hope for the best. Like I said, at least that the breach was recognized and it's being investigated. So, yeah. Well. So the thing about this, like I said, is this is one time in human history where the actions of one person could affect literally an entire country. Like, it's kind of crazy when you think about it in them sense.
Yeah.
But that's where we are right now. So.
And people just out here doing whatever. Great.
Yeah.
That makes.
Kevon.
Yeah, it's time. So we'll take a very, very short break and we'll come back with more Island Tea with our friends from Traffic Talk. So we'll be right back.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Be careful on the road. Don't make it an episode. Attention all drivers, I'm begging you to slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, down, fire day. Driver, what's your emergency? It's better late than never. So why all the hurry? Speeding is the main cause of plenty mishaps. The road is now a racetrack, threatening life and property, and all the result of that led to death and injury. Inconsiderate driving, this nonsense need to stop. Stop. I'm making it my business to alert all motorists, especially those who love to break traffic laws. I have seen what speed can do. Here I am to your rescue to help you to live. Just take this advice I give. I warn all drivers to take care of your passengers. Be careful on the road. Don't make it an episode. How much more tragedy we have to endure to face the reality. Less is safer than more. I'm begging all my friends. Be careful on the road. Slow it down, slow it down. Hey, Roger, watch out for them donkey. Hey. Slow it down, man. Hey. Slow it down. Slow it down. Slow it down, down, down. Especially by the school zone.
Welcome back to Island Tea with your faves, Kevon and Azem, featuring Jade. And it is still to Monday. I give up. It's still Monday, and it's now time for Traffic Talk. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning, and I want to say good morning to our valuable and most trusting listening audience who are with us every Monday morning right here and on WINN FM 98.9 FM, and this is another edition of our weekly edition of Traffic Talk, which is here right here. And my name is Sergeant Brown, and I'm from the Police Traffic Department. And with me in the studio this morning are two senior officials from the Public Works Department, and I would have them introduce themselves. They're with us this morning to share some important information with us, to us. The Public Works Department, they are partnered with the Traffic Department and the police force on a whole. So our aim is to make sure our roads are safe for not just the pedestrians, but also the motoring public. So without any further ado, I just want to introduce the two senior officials. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. My name is George Gilbert, Chief Engineer of Public Works Department. With me is Mr. Livingston Pemberton, Engineer of the Public Works Department. This morning, I think I let Mr. Pemberton do most of the talking. We will be more or less focusing on the traffic signals in Bastille. We are actually implementing phase 2 of the traffic signals in Bastille. So I'll have Mr. Pemberton doing most of the talking. Maybe what I'll do, I'll try to pry him by maybe asking him the questions and then, allow him to flow. Thank you very much.
Okay, good morning to everybody, those of you who are in Radio Land, Internet, wherever you may be listening to us this morning. We hope that the information that we'll be sharing with you this morning will be helpful as we continue to navigate our roadways, especially in the Bastille area. As we would have indicated, traffic signals phase 2 is currently underway. I can report this morning that all of the civil works have been completed. We have been working behind the scenes, trying to do what we call the programming. And so we have been trying to see how the timings are going to work. And pretty soon, we will actually start going out and checking those actual timings on the road to make sure that they are working according to what we would have done in the studios. I want to indicate to the traveling public, as we would have been doing for quite a while now, that it is important for us to become familiar with where the traffic signals will be. There are now 7 additional junctions that will be signalized, and so it is important for us to be familiar with these areas. It's also important for us to ensure that before we leave where we are to go to our destinations, that we plan our routes so that we can get there without any hindrances. One of the things that we wish the public to be aware of is that once the traffic lights or traffic signals have been commissioned, there are going to be some changes in the way that traffic is flowing. And we want to just indicate to you, for example, in the Wellington Road, Dickinson Street, Edward Lane area, there are 4 side streets there, and the flow of traffic in that particular area will change. We're proposing that both Edward Lane and Lewis Lane, that those 2 lanes will be traffic flowing in one direction, and that is up. Then we have the Florence Nightingale Lane and the Rose Lane, traffic will be flowing downward. And so again, we're appealing to persons, plan your route so that when you are traveling, you will know where you can turn and where you cannot turn. It is also important for us to indicate that in the College Street area, where the St. Peter's buses are now located, they will be pushed much further up College Street. And so the traveling public, you need to be aware that you'll just have to go up a little further up College Street in order to get onto your bus to take you to the St. Peter's area. There will also be some changes in terms of on-road parking. And so again, we want persons to be aware of this. We would have undertaken a similar exercise in the first phase, where we had to take the parking from some streets, especially Kevon Street. And so we want you to be aware that in phase 2, there will also be the removal of several parking areas along the route.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pemberton. What I'll do, when it comes to the road work now, the rehabilitation of the Island Main Road, the main contractor, Surrey Paving, what they are doing currently, they are marking the roadway in Bastille. Now this morning, today, they'll be marking along Keon Street in front of the cable building, the cable building, the Anglican Church in that district there. So we have asked the licensed authority, traffic department, to actually cone the area so that people wouldn't park there this morning. I was assured that it would be done. This morning I passed there, it was done. I want to thank the police officers, Donnelly, Shiverton, Libard, who actually was very instrumental in getting that done. But yet I saw some cars parked, some vehicles parked between the cones still. So I am asking the motorists who park there to remove their vehicles from that area. Tomorrow, Tuesday, they will be marking just over on College Street there. After you pass, just in front of what's the name of the printer again? Xerox, the Salvation Army Church, right in that area they will be marking. So do not park in that area tomorrow. But for today, they'll be between by the Anglican Church, right up to the traffic area there, they will be marking. So those persons who are parked there currently, I'm asking you to remove your vehicles from that area, please.
Yes, also it is important to note too that when the lights are commissioned, vehicles traveling from the College Street Gut area would not be allowed to take a right turn down onto Church Street. I would repeat that. Mm-hmm. The vehicles that would be traveling from the College Street Gut area going eastwards would not be allowed to take a right turn down into Church Street. Because if you do that, you'll be cutting across the vehicles that are traveling from the eastern direction. It is the same thing as it is right now, that vehicles leaving, you could say, the junction at 4th Street and Cairn Street. They're not allowed to take a right turn down into West Quay Street. So it would be a similar thing that you wouldn't be able to take a right turn down into Church Street. So I just want persons just to bear this in mind.
All right. So would the motorists coming east, coming down into the gut, would they be able to take that right down College Street gut? Would that still be available?
No, the turning right in that vicinity will be restricted at the lights, and so it's important, again, as I said, that you plan your routes. What we are restricting in that area is the right turn to eliminate the conflict that will be happening with persons turning, because you will have traffic flowing in both directions at the same time. Okay. All right, so that turn will not be allowed.
All right. So it seems, let's say you're at Greenlands and you want to get down into town, as it would stand, to avoid having to come all the way down to, let's say, Sandown Road, you would have to probably take Sprott Street or the West Bourne.
Correct. I see that you're already planning your route when you're coming from that direction.
Yeah, I help the people.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, I help them out.
Yes. Also, as it relates to parking of vehicles, persons might have to find themselves having to park further away out of the city center itself. So we are looking at persons might end up having to park like at the old Simaco parking lot area. Persons might have to find themselves parking further up Victoria Road, because as Mr. Pemberton would have mentioned that a number of parking spaces would be taken up, so a person would have to park further out from the city center itself. So you'll have to, as you Pemberton keeps saying, plan your route and plan your parking. Yes.
All right. Good morning, caller. You're live on Traffic Talk.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Gentlemen.
Good morning.
The subject of your traffic lights, one will wait to see how these affect traffic flow. But one of the first things that is being addressed is that you said, of course, that you will have further restrictions on parking. And to Mr. Police Officer, why don't you continue to take away parking as a result of the installation of traffic signals? And that is quite understandably. You allow the limited parking there is to be taken away by vendors on the Bay Road in the vicinity of those new traffic lights that you've installed, that are being installed outside the Port Zante entrance on the western side. All 5 of the parking spaces that used to be available for the public in front of what we call the Shoreline Plaza are now being taken up 7 days a week or 6.5 days a week by vendors. And I find this very, very unfair. A blind eye is being turned to them. And so it's okay for people to vend on yellow lines and vend on parking areas, but but motorists have their challenges. I will address this in more detail on another call. To Mr. Public Works Department gentleman, the traffic lights that are being installed at the junction of the Birdwalk Road and that junction there with Best Buy and TDC and Rams demonstrates the need for forward planning. We have a situation right now whereby, as was evidenced, the bringing online of KFC has now created a traffic challenge. One welcomes KFC being as productive as possible. However, traffic traveling east is forced to wait in line behind lines of traffic trying to get into KFC. Those coming west are not going to give way if you have 10 cars ahead of you. I implore, beg, call, beseech the powers that be to fill in the cutting from the junction right across at Builders Paradise that used to be the railway all the way over to the Coast Guard entrance going down to the port. Fill that in, widen the road to that full extent so that we can have a full dedicated turning lane along the entire length of that road. Because you'll probably soon be telling us that traffic traveling towards Central Bank from the port cannot turn right into Rams because it will provide a traffic obstruction. So we need that road widened. Now, do not tell me that one of these days the railway is going to be used again. I have no children, but I promise you that to any of those of you in the studio there, even your grandchildren when they are in high school and maybe college, there will not be a restoration of a railway there. That road needs to be filled in, the entire length of that cutting, broaden the road to accommodate a minimum of 3 lanes of traffic flow so that we can have turning into Rams, turning into KFC, and other businesses that eventually will develop along that road. I shall pause, and gentlemen, I wish you all a hard-working, productive, and profitable week.
Okay, I want to thank the caller or callers for those input. That last caller would have brought up an issue that would have been raised at several forums, an issue that is being looked at. That is the one with the traffic and the KFC. That is getting a lot of attention at different levels, and we will be hopeful that there will be a resolution to that issue.
Caller, good morning. You're live on Traffic Talk.
Caller, good morning. You're live on Traffic Talk. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. I just wish to thank that caller just now for such a fantastic idea. You know, I think that's the only way we could go. And something needs to be done to resolve the situation really in that area, you know, which was not really, like he said, you know, was in the thoughts and the planning, you know, something that would occur, you know, when that business went there in that area. And I think he have a very, very, very good idea. Fantastic. Thanks much.
Okay, again, I just want to go back to thanking the caller for the suggestion. That area is actually being looked at. One of the ideas that we're going to be floating is to create what we call a slip lane. That is going to significantly relieve the traffic that is flowing towards the Central Bank area. And so once you're coming up there, you won't have to wait in line, but you can come up and just slip and go into that direction.
Caller, good morning. You're live on Traffic Talk.
Yes, good morning, everyone here on the panel.
Morning.
Just a quick note. I don't know if it was said before because I just tuned in a few minutes ago. The junction of College Street and Keon Street, I hope your public works especially would repair that the drain. Basically, there used to be rails there, and because they're not there now, you have to take an extra 2-3 seconds just to get out of it, especially for lower vehicles, I mean, even trucks, because it's so wide now, and there's also a hole in the road when you're going from east to west, just there in the left lane, that slows down traffic even more. So I hope you guys take a note of that and do some repairs in that area before the lights come on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we want to thank the caller for that information, and all of the suggestions are being noted, and the information will be passed on so that the relevant persons will do what they need to do, especially with the drain. As the person rightly said, it was noticed that in negotiating there, College Street, you have to slow down a little bit, and we know that that can have an impact in terms of the timing, so that will be looked at. Thank you again.
Yeah, if I can come in at this juncture, our first caller would have mentioned about some vending that's been taking place just in front of the Shoreline Plaza, the on Bay Road. That issue has been brought to our attention, and we realize that there's a problem there. So that is being looked into. Caller, you would have said it's like we turn a blind eye to it. I want to assure you that no blind eye has been turned to that problem there. So it would be dealt with when the lights are being commissioned in that area. The vending problem there, that as is right now, won't be a problem going forward. So I just want you to be aware of that, call. Thank you.
You know, speaking of that same area, I've heard some people having some discussions as it relates to the lights in that area right there, between the bottom of 4th Street by the old Treasury building and like say KFC. There is one of the lights that is close to the eastern entrance of Port Zante there, which seems to be just a few meters away from another light, which is the one that's now in commission. Could you explain the need for that light and how that's, you know, the purpose of light? Some people seem to not really understand why you have two lights right there so close to each other.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. The current light at Port Zante West, which is just across from Rams, that light is intended to regulate the traffic that is coming out of Port Zante. And as you come out of Port Zante, that traffic would be turning left, okay? As we would have explained in the past, the thinking was once the construction of the new cruise pier would have taken place and we would have had a number of mega yachts or mega cruise ships coming into the island, we would need to move a lot of people in a small space or small time. Therefore, it was important to have that light in so that we can push the traffic away from the city center. Then you can turn to go up College Street and make your way onto the bypass road and get to your destination. One of the things that we have to bear in mind, and we cannot emphasize this enough, is that we want to be able to move the traffic out of Port Zante in quick time, because that is going to affect the rating that our country will receive. All right? So the shorter time they spend getting out of traffic, the better their tour here on island will be. So that is the reason for those two lights being that close.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
We actually have one last call. Caller, you're live on Traffic Talk. We seem to have lost our call.
Okay. While we're waiting, I just want to explain something. Right at the Treasury, the old Treasury building also, because a lot of people seem to be getting confused there. There are 3 lanes. There's actually a waiting lane that allows you to turn into 4th Street. I want persons to understand that while there's an arrow, a green arrow, when the green arrow comes on in the waiting lane, that is the center lane, that allows you exclusive right to turn into 4th Street. Okay? But if you're in that lane and you get a green ball and there is no traffic coming from the opposite direction, you are allowed to turn. But you have to ensure that there is no traffic coming from the opposite direction.
The way is clear for you to make
That's
that
correct.
right turn. All right.
That's correct. So I want people to be aware of that, because sometimes people wait there when it's not necessarily for you to be waiting. Okay?
Another thing we have to take into consideration, when it comes to Port Zante East, when you get out of Port Zante East, you will only make a right turn, which means you go back to a Bird Rock direction. And when you come out of Port Zante West, you'll only make a left turn to go to the Senator down to Cooley's that way. So if you look at the traffic, you would be pulling the traffic back to each other. You will be sending them away from each other. So you're talking about the congestion there. You realize out of Port Zante, you go down. Out of Port Zante from the east, you go up. So you realize you are pushing them further away from each other. So you have some level of control of the traffic between that junction there.
Okay, and I just want to bring some additional information to the public. Persons have been expressing concern about when you get a green, that pedestrians are still allowed to cross. Mm-hmm. That is a matter that we are looking at, and we want to assure the public that will be resolved, where all of the traffic will actually come to a standstill, persons will cross, and then traffic will be allowed to flow again. So I just want to bring that to the public's attention.
All right, thank you so much.
Yes, looking at the clock on the wall, it's telling us that we have to wrap and pack. So we want to just thank you, our listeners, for tuning in this morning. And I'll give the two senior officials their last wrap. And before I do that, I want to thank them for being here with us this morning and for always being willing and able to assist and be a part of our traffic talk. So, guys,
Thank you very much. I just got a WhatsApp here. He said that vehicles are still parked in front of the church, you mean the Anglican church. Don't know what can be done to get them moved. But if you can do in any way, please try. Now, as I said when I started first, that there were vehicles. This morning, the main contractor, Surrey Paving, will be painting the lines, the center line and the two on the sides, right in front of the Anglican church, the cable building, right across there, Morton, right across there. So we have asked the police, the traffic department, to cone the area, which they have done. But yet I saw this morning that people park between the cones still, in spite of the fact they cone. So those persons who are parked there, we are asking you to remove your vehicles immediately so the contractor can get on with the work, with the marking of the sides there. In addition to that, tomorrow now there will be painting in front of Xerox, the Salvation Army Church, that area there. From College Street got up to Market Street. So we ask you not to park in that area tomorrow. So please be guided accordingly. But those who park in front of the Anglican Church, the former Governor General, the late Governor General, the cable building, I'm asking you to move your vehicles with immediate effect. And I'm going to ask the police to give me some assistance.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, and in wrapping up, I would just like to say to the listening public, if you have any questions and or concerns and you wish to reach out to us, you can do so at 467-1122. All right, once you call that number, one of us would be available to speak to you. If not, just leave your name and your number, and we will get back to you at the shortest possible time. Again, thank you very much, and let us continue to travel safely.
All right, guys, that's been this week's edition of Traffic Talk, every Monday right here from 8:30 to 9 a.m. See you guys next week right here on Traffic Talk. Stay tuned for more Island Tea.
Attention all drivers. I'm begging you to slow it down, down. Too many stunt drivers on the road, man. With the fire day.
We We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Larger than large. Hey, you live the life you love. Love the life you live. Any music you want, so the town will give. We greetings for the town bring from Jack to all ragamuffins.
You live the life you love. You love the life you live. Everything you have in mind, Jah will give. Ooh, greetings I bring from Jah to all ragamuffin. Ooh, greetings I bring from Jah to all ragamuffin. Oh, you man!
Listen, my brother, I'm the high job. Unquenchable fire. There is a land far, far away. It's called Addis Ababa. There is a land far, far away. It's called Addis Ababa. The ruler of that land, which is far away, his name is King Selassie, King of kings and Lord of lords. The ruler of that land, which is in the east, his name is King Selassie. When I say it, there is a land far, far away. It's called Addis Ababa. There is a land far, far away. It's called Addis Ababa. Sure. Babylon, they want to take away the Ark of the Covenant from y'all. Ark of the Covenant cannot be taken away from Addis Ababa. Respect. There is a land far, far away. It's called Addis Ababa. Hear me when I say there is a land far, far away. It's called Addis Ababa. King kings of kings and lords of lords, ruler of creation. His name is King Selassie. Mussolini tried to invade Ethiopia, but he conquered. His name is King Selassie. Rule and respect. There is a land far, far away. It's called Addis Ababa. Start with iron say. There is a land far, far away. It's called Addis Ababa. Wonders of the world, the great river Nile is found there in Africa. The great church of Azem, Azem of Zion. A slice of Mount Zion is for us. A slice of Mount Zion is for us.
Welcome back to Island Tea with your faves, Kevon and Azem, and it is Monday, March 15th, 9:10 a.m. And we are joined in studio for our segment Eat Local by Mrs. Carlene Henry-Morton. Good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. To my hosts and also to persons who are listening and perhaps viewing. I don't know the extent of your program, but good morning, everyone. Happy to be here.
Everyone listens in the world.
And watches. And watches.
I would imagine.
So we love to start this segment off with you telling us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do, so our viewers and listeners can get to know you a little bit.
My name, Carlene Henry-Morton, and currently I am the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Tourism, Transport and Ports. I'm a mother of two. I think a lot of people know my children. Married for almost 40 years, career civil servant almost 40 years as well. And that's basically it. I taught for, of those almost 40 years, I taught for about 33 years. So the rest of it would be at the ministry where, I currently work. And just happy to be able to contribute on whatever level I am allowed to building, our nation and making sure that I do my best while I am able to. That's basically a big part of my philosophy.
Right, because, I would have first come in contact with you as a student at the Bastille High School. You taught English.
And lit.
And literature, yeah. I think while I was there, you were actually head of the English department. I think Kevon was one of your students as well?
Could be. I normally say I don't remember everybody whom I would have taught. If you were well behaved, most likely I would not remember you as readily as those who gave me, that little extra.
Nobody remember them there.
Right? And I don't mean that in any, negative way. Normally, when children come to school and they're well behaved and so on, they're there.
Right.
And you applaud them for being those children who make your life easy. But for some strange reason, the difficult ones stand out more. For some strange reason,
Yeah.
So if I know that Kevon was at school when I was there, but I don't remember if I taught him because I'm not going to remember everybody that I taught.
Right.
That's difficult.
Right. Kevon, you see, you needed to be a bad boy. You wait until you're done with school to start misbehaving. How can I do that?
No, I just misbehaved smartly.
Okay, all right. Behind the scenes.
But let's start there. Or maybe even before that. You grew up in what area of the country? Like
in Sandy Point.
Sandy Point.
Primary school, secondary school, preschool. It was only when I went on to sixth form that I actually attended the Bastille High School. But everything else before that, Sandy Point.
You see, so, you know, the problem is now.
What? What is the problem?
The
I don't see a problem.
The problem is now that it's now hard for us to reconcile that you are a Sandy Pointer when we see how you were always such a huge voice when it comes to the competition and the rivalry between Bastille High School and Sandy Point. This is not how do you reconcile that?
It was easy. That was Sandy Point High School was the school I attended when I was a student and so on. Then I became the principal of Bastille High School, and Bastille High School became my school.
Right.
And I didn't have any difficulty defending and supporting Bastille High School.
Indeed.
Had no problems at all.
Because I know that was one of the things that I was very happy about when you became principal. I think that one of the things that I witnessed was how your love and passion for all things Bastille High School filtered down to not only the students but even throughout the staff. And I think that was something that went a long way in really aiding to the rich legacy that Bastille High School has. That is something that I'm very thankful for you for, like as a past student there, because I think when we talk about Bastille High School, like I talk about it with so much pride. And part of it is not only just the experience that I would have had there, but that rich tradition that you feel, and I think that comes directly from the heads. You know, when I was there, Miss Cable was the principal, when I taught, Mr. Vaughn would have been the principal, and then you would have taken over sometime after that. But how do you feel? What do you think was your part of your legacy as being the principal there at Bastille High School?
Well, I don't do anything. I try my best not to do anything halfway. If you are going to do something, you do it with all that you have. And I take that wherever I go and whatever I'm doing, even the work that I do now.
Right.
And I try to encourage and motivate and inspire my staff likewise to, anything you have to do, you give it the best shot that you can. And as you're saying, you do not know who is looking on. You do not know who you're going to inspire. You do not know who you're going to motivate. I wanted, when I was at Bastille High School, even before I became the principal, I made sure that I got up every day thinking that this is going to be the best day. You have to have that type of personality in order to teach.
Right.
You have to have it. No matter how difficult yesterday was, you have to say, today is going to be a fabulous day. I am going to get all of the children to behave. I'm going to get all of them to learn. And you don't just say it, but you prepare yourself mentally and otherwise, the way you would, for example, do your work preparation.
Right.
When you go into the classroom, you want to reach every single child. If you're taught and you feel as if somebody got a bit left behind, you go back over your work prep to see perhaps I could have done it a bit differently. I like to say, for example, people would ask me, okay, you taught literature and for years the books would be the same. How do you teach the same book year after year and not get bored? I say, because every year you see something different. You read it, and not only that, every year you have a different set of students sitting in front of you. You can't teach this batch of students the same way that you taught last year's students, because these are different students.
Right.
You have already psyched out. You kind of understand these children who I have in front of me. I have to slant my lesson this way because they seem to be this. These personalities seem to be these types of personalities, and this is how I'm going to connect with them.
And so, I guess every class does have its own personality too.
Of course. Of course, and
yeah.
you have to basically psychologically work out who you have in front of you and prepare your lessons accordingly. That's how you connect with people. That's how you connect with your students. I remember having a batch of students. They were a little slower than the others, and Mr. Vaughn used to say to me all the time, I don't know how you manage to teach this class, and you don't have to bring anybody to me. You don't have to every minute be putting people outside, and I don't know how you manage. But we had our own little vibe going on in the class. You know, if I go in and the classroom isn't clean, I said, I begin to pick up, first of all. I said, listen, why is the classroom not clean? I begin to pick up. I said, okay, let's all prepare the classroom so that, you know, we can all be comfortable in the space that we are going to occupy. After I would have done that maybe about 3-4 times, when I go to the classroom now, if it is not tidy, if he's not looking the way that, then I begin to get a bit more firm. I say, listen, I've said already, when I come to the class, I expect to meet. And gradually we begin to understand each other.
Right.
So I would get to the class. Yeah, I would get to the class and, you know, you see them tidying up and fixing this thing, you know. Right. And then we get on with our lessons. I would photocopy stuff that I think that they would enjoy, so that when we do comprehension, it's not just some run-of-the-mill, you know, topic, but something that I have noticed that somebody in there likes to talk about the sea and the ocean and things. So you would look for comprehension passages that perhaps have something to do with fishing, and, you know, so that you connect with them in that type of way. And I used to tell them all the time, listen, you may not be the children who are at the top when it comes to the academics, but there's so much more that you can do. If you want, when you grow up, if you want to be a fisherman, that's your choice. But be the best fisherman that you can be. Right. Be the best carpenter that you can be. Just make sure that you are self-sufficient. You don't have to beg and borrow and steal and so on. You know, so you talk to people and get them to understand that when all is said and done, you take away all of the fluff, you are a human being. Just be the best human being that you can be, the best citizen that you can be. And so we move our way up from that.
Right. I think what you're saying is so interesting, because what it proves is that teachers play such a vital part in the lives of these children. Like, you're describing not only being a teacher in a traditional sense, but perhaps even being a counselor. I know sometimes teachers have to end up being mothers and nurses, right? And playing such an important role in because the truth is, the children spend so much time in school, you know, and a lot of times they spend more times in that environment than they do at home.
And sometimes the teacher is the only person that they have to look up to, or to have that guidance from, because some children come from homes that aren't the best, and they truly look forward to going to school because they know when they get there, they have these teachers that give them that love that they may not be having or getting at home. So, yeah, I have to tip my hat to all teachers, honestly.
Yeah.
I remember being in a speech day, and the one particular teacher who was chairing the program, he made an observation because he was relatively new to the staff, and he said, "This is the first school at which I have taught, and the principal actually stands by the gate and says good morning to everybody, or walks up the corridor and says, 'Good morning, Miss So-and-so. Good morning. Hi.' I didn't even realize I was doing that. It was just part of me to, you know, say good morning, how are you? And if you didn't behave, you have to say, listen, you're going to behave today, you know, you don't humbug me up, you hear me? You understand? You make a little joke, give me a high five. And, you know, because as Jade is your name? As Jade is saying, sometimes the first good morning some of these children get is when they turn up at school. They wake up, nobody has said good morning, everybody in the house going about their own business and so on. And, you know, they want to feel that warmth. They want to feel that they matter to somebody.
Right.
I used to end every assembly with, remember at Bastia High School, we love you and we want the best for you. Every single assembly. You know, as trite as that might sound, you don't know which child that connected with.
Right.
And, you know, somebody is telling you, I love you and I expect good things from you. I expect great things from you. You have it. You have that potential. You have it within you to make something good of yourself.
And not only that, sometimes that first interaction makes that child's day, because they might just have left home, you know, not feeling the best, not looking forward to the day. But because you greeted them in such a way, their whole day has changed. Like, they would have a much better day because they were greeted by somebody that they feel like love them and appreciate them and care for them. So I wish more schools would do that.
And it wasn't just about me. I think that the staff began conducting themselves in a particular way too. And as you're saying, Azem, I think it's a tradition. It's not just me. It's a tradition that we have had at Bastia High School to try to connect with our staff, try to connect with our students and so on. I must at this point in time talk about Mrs. Roberts, Carlene Roberts, because she was a little social butterfly. And that is something that I picked up from her. She always, to me, she lived the adage that I read somewhere, if you don't feed the teachers, they're going to eat the children. You understand? And so she made sure she had all these little things at the end of every term where, as simple as it might sound, we would have our little raffles and, each teacher got a chance to win something. Number 24.
Right.
And then you go up and you get, a little thing with maybe cups and a mug, something to go home with, a candle. So everybody, when she went abroad, she came back with everybody got a pen.
Right.
A sharpener, tools for school. She made sure that the teachers felt as if they were appreciated. And that, as simple as these things sound, they motivate people to give of their best, to want to.
Indeed.
Because teaching isn't easy. I don't think anybody thinks so, but I think it is worth saying that teaching is not an easy job.
Yeah.
And when you feel as if you are supported by the management of your school and so on, we feel as if we are a family.
Right.
All of us would work out the difficulties together. And so you, as I say, you come in every day thinking, this is going to be a fabulous day. I don't care what yesterday was.
Right.
Today is going to be a fabulous day.
Yeah, that support really goes a long way in motivating you on the job. And,
Yes, it
putting
does.
you in the best position to perform.
Yeah.
Right? But you have since moved on from that career path. Yes, you mentioned it. The PS, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism. Is that correct?
Tourism, it's now tourism, transport and ports.
Yes, tourism, transport, and ports. How was it transitioning from teaching and going into this different path? You call yourself a technocrat. But how was it moving away from teaching, something that you would have done and done well for so long?
Well, I looked at it there are different components to everything that we do. So I went from one leadership role into another. And for me, leadership is leadership. People are people. The principles apply across the board. You treat people with respect. You go in understanding that just as you have things that you want to share with those persons who are working with you, you are there to learn as well. So you have to be open and receptive. You can't just march onto the job and say, okay, I am here, this is the way I do things, and I expect everybody to conform. So you observe, you go in, you observe, and you meet a team that is there already, and you demonstrate that you're willing to work along with the team. And then there's the other aspect now of learning about the business of tourism, because that is something that I wasn't familiar with.
Right.
I knew in a general sense, what tourism is and so on. So I'm still in the process of learning about, the little nuances and idiosyncrasies and all of those things that are particular to tourism. But I have a fantastic team. We tend to work very, very well together. And so we have our challenges, but we work them out together.
Right.
And I would say that we are being very productive with a lot of the things that we do, the projects that we are working on. Those improvements that you are seeing down at Black Rocks, for example,
Right.
that is a tourism project. We are in the process of also doing quite some work down at Eco Park, trying to enhance and to,
Right.
encourage Kittitians, not just our visitors, because I like to tell people there's such a thing as domestic tourism, and I think
Right.
we are finding out that now with the shutdowns and the lockdowns and the reduction in travel and so on.
But just speaking about the projects, and one project that is very I'm very interested in is the work that is happening at the Frigate Bay Strip. That's also a tourism project, isn't it?
Yes.
So what's happening with that project, and where we at, and where is that looking to go?
We have we have the land side of things taking place and the sea side of things taking place. The land side of things, we are putting in our washrooms. You realize that we would have paved the road, because before that it was dirt, a dirt road, very muddy whenever rain came, and very dry and dusty whenever you didn't have rain. So we have put in that through road. On the sides we are putting in our washrooms. We are actually putting in a police outpost,
like outpost,
like an outpost, right? We want to put that in, and we have a number of other things that we're working on. One of the holdups with the washrooms would be the sewage. How do we dispose of the sewage? Because we want to do that in a very environmentally friendly and very responsible way. So we have been working along. It's actually a government project in collaboration with CDF.
Oh, okay.
Right? And a little slow, but we prefer to do it slowly and to make sure that it is done in a very responsible way than to rush it, and then we have issues down the road. Just about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think we have finally come up with a feasible and very environmentally friendly way to make sure we dispose of the sewage.
Okay.
We're still fine-tuning a few things here and there, but I think that we are comfortable that what we are going to do would not harm the environment. Mm-hmm. The beach side now, we are putting in some breakwaters and groins, because you realize that over the years, with all of the storms that we have had and the hurricanes and so on, that beach has really taken a serious beating.
Yeah.
And the locals who used to go there, we got a lot of complaints. I'm getting cuts on the foot, and as a matter of fact, so many people are not frequenting the beach.
Yeah.
So this is about the 3rd or 4th attempt at beach nourishment. I think that one of the areas where the beach nourishment in the past may not have delivered the results that we were looking for is that the groins and breakwaters that were recommended were not put in. So you would go, you dredge up the sand, you have all of this additional yardage of sand and so on. But the next storm that comes, monies literally get washed back out to sea.
Yeah.
So we were adamant at the Ministry of Tourism that unless we get everything, the monies for beach nourishment, meaning putting back the sand, putting in the groins, putting in the breakwaters, making sure that scientifically we have all of our ducks lined up in a row. We know exactly what we are doing. It doesn't make any sense to move even one grain of sand.
Right.
And government listened, and so that is where we are at now. So you see the groins going in, you see the groins have not begun as yet, but the breakwaters have been put in. And we are learning from the persons who are doing the work, the service providers, that we have already begun to see around the breakwaters quite some marine life. So people will be able to dive and, see the marine life. And that is exactly what we're looking for. We have already begun to see incrementally sand coming back and so on. And the work isn't finished as yet. So we are very, very happy to hear the reports that are coming back to us from the service providers over at the Strip. And so we are monitoring. We are making sure that we do the best we can to deliver optimally on that particular project, both landside and seaside.
Right. I think that that beach, it's been interesting to see how over the years it's changed, and like you said, it's gotten to a point now where even though that particular stretch is very popular, restaurants, nightlife, and things like that, for sea bathing, it's dropped off a bit. And so I'm hoping that this work that is being done, and you're saying that we're already seeing positive results from the work that's being done coming through, that we could really see a return, of people being able to go there, seeing it as a place that they want to go, take their families and stuff like that. But I could only imagine, like now, in the current climate, this pandemic, how I don't even know the word to use, but just being in tourism, being in the position you are, and recognizing as things develop what the situation was and how it was going to be affecting tourism. How was that? How what was the mindset? Your mindset personally, not necessarily of the ministry, but when you started recognizing that, wow, this thing is something that's not going to last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's going to affect what is perhaps one of the main industries, if not the main industry on the island.
My mind's, I think by nature, I am an optimist. You have to be, right? So it doesn't mean that you deny the reality of what is unfolding around you, but you already begin to think, how can I reimagine what I'm doing? How can I refashion, we are not going to have all of these tourists coming in because travel is down and everything and so on. But how can we get our stakeholders to understand that you can still make a living? It may not be to the extent that you would have had you had 1 million plus tourists coming in. But what can you do to encourage more locals, for example, to begin trying to access your service, trying to use your products? How can you begin to work not just by yourself? So Azem used to have a business where Azem alone used to work, and that brought in the returns that you were looking for. But Azem now has to begin to see how Azem and Jade perhaps can bring on Amali and somebody else, so you work in clusters so that everybody gets an opportunity to make a little something, even if it is just to tide you over and to pay the bills and so on. And in the meantime, you can still use, because there are so many platforms, virtual platforms that you have, to get people understanding that your business is still around. It has been tweaked and shaped a bit to fit into the current dispensation, but I'm still offering X and Y and A and B, and begin trying to reimagine and still prepare yourself, because the pivot is going to come. Tourism will come back. What are you doing to keep our brand front and center, to remind people that St. Kitts is still a very beautiful place that you can come to visit when we get over this hump that we are now experiencing and so on. So it's not about people just sitting in a corner and bemoaning and saying, woe is me. I understand, I know that there are the difficulties out there. I am not trying to poo-poo it away and pretend that all is well. But you also have to have a spirit that is going to, of innovation. It's innovation, As I said, we had a program there on Saturday, and I said it is innovation for product differentiation. How are you going to differentiate yourself? How are you going to remake what you're doing? How are you going to survive? You have to shift that gear and get into survival mode. And if you try one thing and it doesn't work, try something else.
So you had mentioned...
Go
ahead. You had mentioned earlier when we were talking that you guys are working on the eco park, and you guys are trying to focus a bit more on the domestic tourism. What other initiatives you guys are putting in place to really get the domestic tourism going? Because during this pandemic, it really showed us that not only do petitions, they haven't really explored the island, like we think everyone would have, but on top of that, we haven't really seen the tourism world catered to the domestic product. How have you guys been working on trying to really appeal to the domestic market?
Well, I'll answer that by saying it's not just about us doing. We want people to come to begin to see St. Kitts with fresh eyes, and to come to us to say, you know what I have been doing? You know what my partner and I have been doing? These are the things. How can you help me to market, to advertise that I have X and Y down in St. Paul's or Molyneux? You understand what I mean? Kevon and so on. Because we do not have a monopoly on all of the things that possibly can be done in St. Kitts. As a matter of fact, sometimes when people come and they talk to us about some of the things that they're doing, we're pleasantly surprised to see that there are locals thinking like that, So we want to encourage people who have these projects and products and so on to come and let us know what you have. In addition to that, we have been running a number of workshops. I spoke about clusters earlier. We have been running a number of workshops for our stakeholders, for them to basically see, who else is out there, who are the other colleagues in tourism, and what products different people have that can blend and merge almost seamlessly with what you are doing. And that is something that we have been talking about even before COVID, the whole idea, because let me tell you the whole value chain that we are talking about. If you have a taxi, right? Okay, there's only so much taxiing that you can do. You carry people around and everything. But if you have a taxi service, Jade has a little farm to fork experience that she does. So the taxi man gets his money to bring them down to Jade. Jade carries them around on the farm, and they have this, organic experience, picking and making their own juices and everything and so on. So they do that for 45 minutes perhaps. Then Jade has a friend somewhere who down in Sandy Point can take them around to maybe a community walk. And you carry them down to what we call Downing Street. Let me just think Downing Street. We'll be amazed at what, in some of these places that we live, we don't know the history. I found out, since I have become the permanent secretary, that the house that I was born in Sandy Point, once used to hold parliament.
Oh, wow.
The house is still in my family, right? Downing Street is called Downing Street because it was one of the places in St Kitts when Sandy Point was the town where the aristocrats lived. If you walk down Downing Street, you would realize it is one of the widest streets that we have in St Kitts, and it is paved with cobbled stones.
Right.
The most of the buildings down that road, the bottoms, the downstairs.
Yeah, the lower part.
The lower parts. They are made of red brick. Those bricks came down on the boats when the boats were coming down empty to carry back up the sugar cane. They were called ballast in order to balance the boat.
Right.
The boat came down with those red bricks. There was no need to carry them back up because you were now going back up with the sugar cane, the sugar. And so people use the bricks to make the bottoms of the houses and so on and so forth. My grandfather's house up Crab Hill, I am hearing, and I do have a letter from Marcus Garvey that when he came to St. Kitts, because my grandfather was very much a part of the Black Power movement in St. Kitts and so on. Marcus Garvey stayed with my grandfather in that house. I do have a letter from Marcus Garvey where he thanked my grandfather for accommodating him and everything and so on. So, I mean, and I'm sure that there's so many other stories around St. Kitts that we can use when you go to other islands. You'll be amazed at some of these simple things that they make a whole big tour over. People pay money and go into these places and so on and so forth. So it is for us to begin to think like that and to build out a lot of the history that we have, the culture, the traditions and so on and so forth. And we do that in such a way that when a tour takes place, 4 or 5 different people can earn a living because we have that interconnected type of arrangement.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've been on several similar types of experiences. For instance, I know there's a friend of mine who does a tour with his brother. His brother was a chef, and he's a fisherman. So they do this thing where, you go out on the boat and you catch fish, and then you go back to basically the backyard, and they literally cook the fish right there. They teach you how to clean the fish. You cook the fish, you season the fish, everything right there, and then you have like a dinner. There's little entertainment and thing from somebody who just lived down the road, and it's a whole experience.
Of course.
But and they keep it. It's about 5-6 of them who kind of came together to create that experience, and they do very well. So what you're saying is something that is very important here, especially in this time. And I think we have seen lots of innovation from a lot of local, but there's definitely continuous room to continue to do that and to adapt. And then, like you said, it's necessary, especially in this time. Have you seen a real, let's say, the locals really embracing, some of these experiences and becoming involved since the pandemic? Have you recognized that as something, or is that something that we continually need to encourage?
It is something that we need to encourage, but I know that some persons have been doing some of these trips on their own, but some of them have been also accessing organized tours. I spoke to a particular individual. I don't know if the person would want me to mention her name, but I won't because I have not asked for permission. But the person was telling me that she got together with her in-laws and a few friends and so on, and they did a particular tour. She said, Carlene, I felt like I was in the Mediterranean. I didn't know that St. Kitts has all of this going on. I think they started somewhere on a boat, and they went down the coast and came off and went inland and visited certain places and so on and so forth. But she said, listen, it was an eye-opener for me. The person was saying, every time I had a few days to myself, I went to Miami, I went abroad. And she is so amazed at what St. Kitts has to offer. I pointed out certain areas to her. She was like, I didn't see them, I didn't know that they existed until, because the person actually called me about a particular project that we are working on, the Rails to Trails. I don't know how many of you know about the Rails to Trails.
Enlighten us.
Starts in Trinity, just outside the Anglican Church. And we go along the trails. So we have cleaned up those trails right down. So you go to the back of Challengers and everything, which, by the way, is the first free village in St. Kitts. So you walk to the back of Challengers and you go right down, and it takes you down to Bloody Point. By the time you get to Bloody Point, you can go up into the grotto up there. And those, the Carib rock joints that you see in Old Road, that grotto is full of them. Because apparently it was a sacred site for the Amerindians and so on, the Caribs and so on. But, and while you're doing that, you're getting a tour. They're telling you about Trinity. I think the Trinity Anglican Church is one of the older churches on the island. The flora, the fauna, the panoramic view that you get from that elevation looking out to sea and so on. If any ships are passing, you see all of that. And, you hear about, I think there are a few persons, I think somebody down in that area has a chicken farm, and and so you just talk about what is in front of you, and you also infuse little messages about caring for the environment and that type of thing. And it has turned out turned into a fantastic, as a matter of fact, from what I've been made to understand, there is a bicycle club that uses the trail pretty often because it's nice and cleaned up and everything and so on. And we have a lot of history in St. Kitts, a lot that, apart from the visitors who come, that we ourselves, if every other Saturday we make up in our minds that we are going to do a particular tour. And by the way, let me talk about Leonard Stapleton. Fantastic tour guide. He walks out. He's a human encyclopedia when it comes to St. Kitts and the history and everything and so on. He's somebody that we use a lot.
Well, we did have him on the show, so we know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm telling you.
A wealth of information.
Right. Incredible. And he does a fantastic job just, filling you in on, those gaps. Because, you went to school and you did your history, but nothing compares to that type of walking, talking experience that you have, and you have the opportunity to ask questions and so on. It's so much for us to learn, and as a people it is important for us to know our history so that we can advertise, market. People stop us and they ask us questions, visitors ask, almost at our fingertips we can respond. Of course. When we travel, even when we do get a chance to travel again. Have you ever been to St. Kitts? No, I say, but let me start to tell you about St. Kitts. Before we're going on the person booking their passage. That is what we want. We want our people to be knowledgeable about the destination and be our ambassadors, as you say, very easily and seamlessly able to market and to talk about what we have on St. Kitts.
That's a good segue.
Well, I know since we're in a pandemic still, and tourism kind of used to feel like it was marketed to foreigners. We look at a lot of the commercials and we don't really see people that look like us. Going forward, do you think that there's a way for us to feel more represented? And even with that, I feel like if we see ourselves in these commercials and ads, we are more inclined to want to be a part of or take advantage of our tourism product that we have here. That could be a reason why a lot of locals haven't really explored what we have to offer or dived into the things that the tourism industry has. So going forward, do you think that there would be a way for us to feel more included in the ads and the marketing and the billboards and all of that type of stuff?
I definitely think so. The St. Kitts Tourism Authority is actually the marketing arm for tourism. We do what we can do ourselves, the ministry. But it is definitely a lesson that I think we are learning. We are paying closer attention. I think in the back of our minds, we knew that there was a domestic market, there was a local market to appeal to and so on. But COVID has brought it home very forcefully to us, that the two things can coexist. You can have that marketing that targets, the international, regional type individual, but you definitely need to carve out a space for marketing to our local people. And I think that is something that we definitely are going to action going forward. I want to commit myself to saying that we will be able to see more of that. We will do more of that because we are very happy with what we are seeing with persons. Even for Nevis, it's not just St. Kitts alone.
Right.
Look at what happens on the weekends. A lot of Kittitians go over to Nevis, and what I've been made to understand, Nevisians are coming over to St. Kitts. And we need to do a lot more of that.
Yeah, there's definitely been a rise in that, I'd say, over the last maybe 2 years, and even since
especially in the pandemic.
Yeah, during the pandemic, the weekends, you see the water taxis going back and forth, full both ways.
Right.
People, you know, what our friend Mark Jim Batley calls it, social intercourse between the two islands.
Yes.
And I, for instance, I know a lot of times when I was spoken to friends and things, a lot of them, when they talk about going to Nevis, it was something that happened one time on a weekend,
like
when there was
family or
when,
church gathering,
one time when they were small, sometime a few years ago. Now you have people going over a few times a month, right? I think the water taxis makes that a lot easier. People are more likely to do that. But even just experiencing, you know, the sister island, you know, is a big part of what I think is coming out of the pandemic. And so, you know, we have to look at some of these ways in which, like you said, COVID brought these things to us. You know, one of the things too, after being locked up in the house, right, during the lockdown, I realized a lot of people all of a sudden started rediscovering outside, eh?
Yep.
What? They could do all kind of things all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, people going on hikes. It's like, you never hiked before, you never even walked down the street. You like, so it's like, no, you find a lot of this happening, and I think it's going to be so interesting to see how, you know, we could continue to build out that market, you know, to the locals especially. And I love that you guys are actually encouraging some of the persons involved in the industry to create some of these experiences that would appeal to us, the locals.
I agree.
We're also working with the Ministry of Agriculture. Just Saturday, we had the prize giving ceremony for the backyard garden competition.
Right.
And the St Kitts Backyard Garden Association was officially launched at that particular function as well. And, you know, somebody might say, backyard garden and tourism, you know, how y'all getting that? But what we are trying to do, because a lot of our tourism product depends on the natural environment.
Yeah.
It depends on aesthetics, you know, beauty. When people, you want people to be mesmerized by, you know, how organized our communities look when they pass through. One of the things I want people to say, you know, where tourism is concerned, when they pass through all of our communities, they must remark, wow, you people seem to have quite a high level of civic pride, you know, just about everywhere we go. The place is pristine, it's immaculate. I mean, even in the yards, you can see that people are, you know, really looking after. And it doesn't have to be any big lawn or anything like that. Just a few plants, and not just overseas people either. We local people must take pride in, you know, where we live, the communities in which we live, the yards that we occupy, you know, a little. And then, so you have the ornamentals, and they're nice and pretty and attractive, but you also can have your little backyard vegetable garden. You know, I started a little something since the lockdown and thing. I started a little. And every morning I take pride in going down and picking my tea bush, and they all name island tea. Every morning I think, and you know, you
really
feel
bring the bush, eh?
that sense of accomplishment. And I've been made to understand that Yarni would love, because she's teasing me about it, that only miserable people could grow mint, and my mint is thriving. So I must be very miserable, right? But, you know, so, and I have my little space, you know, you get your rocks and thing, and you carve out your nice little space, and you line it, and you go down in the morning and you water. I mean, you have that sense of accomplishment, that pride, that civic duty, that civic responsibility, that patriotism to look after your little space where you live, the community where you live, and before you know what's going on, that is going to grow so that the entire destination, everywhere you go on the island, it is pretty, it is beautiful. It brings a sense of calm. Yeah. And if I were a visitor, it would say to me, listen, this is a peaceful place. You know, if somewhere is violent and so on, you're not going to likely to see all that beauty. Right. So the message, you know, the subliminal message is these are people who care about the environment, they care about each other, they care about, you know, their homes, and it is in our own best interest, apart from the visitor, to have that good feeling about who we are as a people. And it also benefits us health-wise. You know, if we are going to eat local, you know, we are going to make sure that the places where we live and we occupy, that they are clean, they are tidy, and so on.
Yeah.
When all is said and done, it is to our own benefit to have all of that going on.
I
Indeed.
agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's good to see that the ministry is forming some of these linkages between some of the other sectors, because tourism in essence it marketing us, it marketing the country, marketing who we are as a people, all of that. And so I'm sure that you guys are also looking into even other linkages, perhaps things to do with sports, perhaps things to do with with the food and color.
We have Restaurant
Actually,
Week, don't forget,
yes,
that's us.
Indeed.
Food
Restaurant
tourism.
Week, that's us.
Indeed.
One thing I've noticed about St Kitts and Nevis, we have some really good food. Not knocking St Kitts because I love my country, but especially Nevis. Oh my God, I would just go to
Just
Nevis
like
just to
Shimo.
eat. Yes, that's okay. I love going to Nevis just to eat.
Wouldn't bring nothing for me to eat.
I'm sorry. You don't eat all them things.
But we are trying the whole culinary tourism, that niche market. We are trying to see what we can do to grow that as well, so that we have very much like music festival. We have people who are going to come here, and part of the draw is that, as you said, you know, we want to. Oh, when I go to St. Kitts, I just love their cuisine. You know how creative they are with some of the things that they use, and we want to use a lot of our own locally grown stuff.
Yeah.
The breadfruit and the coconut and the yams and the plantains and you know, that is why each restaurant week has a local ingredient. That is the theme ingredient.
Yeah.
And so we are trying to get the word out to people. Listen, look around you, see what you have, the fruits, the vegetables, you know, all of the different plants that you have. Try to see what you can do to use them as you cook. And not just for cooking either. A lot of our people are also into the beauty, you know, using them, the soaps,
Right.
the creams, the perfumes.
Yeah.
Just Saturday, for example, I was able to purchase, I think it was something to if you have your fingernails and you're getting
Cuticle oil.
this oil that you can put on and so on to make
Was
sure.
it from Beauty by Kai?
Well, that's one, but I think I got this one from Dawn Hodge. That's a lady in Sandy Point. And, you know, so you put it on to make sure that your nails, you don't have any infections or anything like that. Because, you know, those of us, we have our little false nails and everything and so on. Water might get on it, and before you know what's going on, you begin to have a little problem. So you have your oil that you can put on to make sure that you stave off that as much as possible. Yaffine, that's another individual who comes to mind. Again, all of the wines and I don't know how many of you have seen the packaging.
Oh, that's definitely a big
Yes.
step up.
Awesome.
Yes.
I mean, you could see that
Awesome
quite some
packaging.
thought has been put into it. It's very attractive. You know, they make you want to come over and say, "Excuse me, what's this?" You know, understand?
Yeah,
And
it's
it-
just not displaying
Yeah.
thing you have.
But look at it. I'll give you an example. We had the owner here on the show some months back, but Mother Becky's
Yes.
tea, right?
Oh, love that
When you
packaging
go
so
when you
much.
go in the store and you're looking through, all the teas look the same, and then you get to the Mother Becky's with a nice little bag, and like I buy that one, like it just
Yeah, it gives you that
it draw me in.
authentic Kittitian feel, like that. What is it, like
I
a
drink
cup?
some of Bezos.
It's like a crocus bag kind of packaging, and it has the label on it
Right.
and everything. So you could tell, like, if I'm somebody who traveled here from overseas and I see this is something that I would pick up to take back as a gift, of even just to have for me, because this just gives me the authentic Kittitian feel.
You here drinking my Basil right now?
Yeah, now for me, none, Sam.
Yeah, so our people have really stepped up their game. I think we need to applaud them. We need to commend them. We need to
Yeah.
encourage more people to come on board and to understand that, listen, when all is said and done, our eye is our market. People say that all the time. You know, you see things, you're drawn to them, and it can't be that you just wrap up something in a brown paper bag anymore. You know, the packaging and so must sell whatever is the particular product or the service, you know, but you must make sure that when you're advertising, when you're marketing, it is something that is eye-catching.
Yeah.
You know, that it is going to draw people to ask more questions about who you are and the particular type of service that you offer, right?
Yeah.
You can't just wait for people to find out about you either. You have to be a little more aggressive. You have to
Yeah.
go out and make sure all of the social media platforms that we have out there, you put yourself out there so people can learn about you. And you have one or two little influencers who people tend to listen to and they have confidence at once. Azem says X is a good product, that they themselves would go out and patronize and so on. You have to find ways to make sure that you get the word out.
Yeah, definitely. And we've had some of the local entrepreneurs here on the show, and they present themselves so well, and their products are top notch. I would say it's to a point now, especially with the beauty products and the body products and stuff like that. I tend to go for the local ones, not just out of a sense of trying to support local, but because I just feel they're better.
Yeah.
Like I feel like stand up to anything coming from outside.
And I feel like we need to start exporting or pushing this more like a part of the tourism product. Tourism for me isn't just the beaches and the excursions and all of that. I think tourism has to include all of the experiences that come with St Kitts. So the products, the food,
You go back to food again, Jade?
Yes, because I like food.
She can't help it. She likes food.
But, I just feel like there are so many products that we can export or include in the packages that we offer for guests. And even at the hotels, sometimes guests go to the front desk to ask about the excursions that they want to go on. And we can actually have a product catalog there so they can know that we offer these things as well. So you can, not only you could go on Sky Safari or ATV, but you could actually purchase the rum or the snacks that we create here, the skincare products, the oils, all those things that would enhance the experience of any guest coming to St Kitts.
Yeah.
Salad dressing. I mean, the list is almost endless now, the salad dressing, the different juices, the hot pepper sauce, as I said, the candles and creams and, cuticle oils, all types of different types of oils for your skin and for, I mean, it's really phenomenal. It's very encouraging, and I as I said, we must applaud all of our local entrepreneurs, those persons who are stepping up the game, making sure that they do what they need to do. They study their product, they understand, and they can sell their product. They can tell you what this particular ingredient will do for your skin or your hair, or you understand what I mean, and so on and so forth. Or if you go to them and say, I have a problem with things. I realize that I keep getting a rash around. They say, what is good for that? And, and they can tell you, and it works.
Yeah, man.
It works.
They've
done their
What?
research.
Your skin glowing after, you can't believe it's the same skin you had.
don't buy all kind of things from all kind of...
all kind of manufactured things, and you just, you got something from one of our local producers, and then you can't believe the difference in your skin, and you can't believe something made locally could do this.
That's why you're glowing, Jade?
Huh? Yeah, of course.
Wow. But Kevon.
Oh boy.
Kevon.
Fine.
Was it a local product that made you slim?
Yes, it was. It was a very local product that made me slim. No, it was, and I have to give her the props. It was Paula Sturgeon Collins, and we had her on the show before. She a local, doing a local workout and fitness plan and everything, and I dropped that weight in no time.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, before I leave, I think I need to just say thank you to all of the persons. We had 34 persons who participated in the backyard garden competition. 34,
wow.
Right, from across the island. We had 2 categories, the ornamental category, and in that category, Mr. and Mrs. Ivan and Carolyn Matthew emerged as the winners in the ornamentals, and Floretta James placed second. And in the vegetable category, we had Mrs. Dawn Hodge Percival. She placed first. We had Karen Dickinson placing second, and Andron Tuckett placing third. The response, because we started around October, the response to that particular competition was tremendous. I mean, we were very, very happy to see. And they allowed us into their gardens almost on a weekly basis to come and check up to see what progress was being made. If they were having challenges, then we had the people from agriculture who would advise them how to address some of the challenges that they were having. They applied a lot of the strategies and the recommendations that were made. And it was, from what I've been made to understand, it was a keenly contested competition.
I could imagine.
Everybody really stepped up their game, made sure that they prepared the spaces and so on. So I want to say thank you to one and all, everybody who participated, all of the judges, and to my teams at the Ministry of Tourism, because we tend to work very, very well together. Although the different teams have their own duties and, their responsibilities, we tend to come together to make sure that when all is said and done, whatever the project is that tourism is working on, the Ministry of Tourism, Transport and Ports, that it is something of high quality and class. And that was on display on Saturday down at the Eco Park. We hosted it at the Eco Park. We are tending to host a lot of our activities and functions at the Eco Park because that is our way of marketing the park as well.
Right.
And the entertainment, we had the drummers, Royden there. We had, at the end of the actual formal ceremony, prize-giving ceremony, we had out on the lawn an exhibit where a lot of the entrepreneurs were able to display. And they got some sales as well. So we try our best to do that, to organize those opportunities for our entrepreneurs to be able to make that connection with the general public and let people know what they have to offer.
Nice. So guys, bear in mind that there's no backyard association, so get your backyards ready. And then
Pandemic gardeners, this is your time to shine.
But I got my little lemongrass to you, Jade. I got my little lemongrass there growing up to you.
Are more serious than you. You got lemongrass, but I have everything.
All right then.
We
have a little competition going on here, you see?
I got to start somewhere, Jade.
I know I
can
can as it easily with my backyard. As in my lemongrass, my mother had peppers and all kind of
Okay, so hold on there, Jade. You never bring a pepper in here.
For what?
And you need a boast about your pepper them?
Jade does boast about cooking. Jade does boast about peppers and don't bring none.
I mean, you're hungry. Every morning, Jade come in here and abuse the fact that my stomach growling. I won't bring the food.
Anyway, Miss Morton, how? Because they try to time me up, I think
guiltiness, yes. But Mrs. Morton, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us this morning. It's very enlightening. Thanks for letting us know like what's happening at the ministry. It seems as though even though we're in this challenging time, that there's ways to innovate and step up and to keep moving and keep the tourism product here healthy and at least going until we could see some return of some of the overseas tourists. And that's what I want to big up today, actually. I want to big up the innovators. I want to big up the entrepreneurs who, in the face of the pandemic, made a shift. You made a shift. You adapted. Because really and truly is adapt or die right now, eh?
Yes.
Adapt or die. So, big up to all you who recognize, hey, you can't just sit down here and bawl and cry and whatever, but have now taken steps to push into new territory. And in a lot of cases, doing so well.
Yeah.
Right? Real examples. Big up yourself one time. Or maybe 2 times. Yeah, that's a 2-time big up there. Yeah.
It was a pleasure being here. I really relish any opportunity that I get to talk about tourism, to talk about the destination, to let people know that we have, as you said, persons out there who are really fighting hard to make that adjustment. We have quite a number of persons who have demonstrated that willingness to work with other persons in tourism because they understand that, we all have to support each other. When the challenging times come, we have to make sure that we don't just see about ourselves. But if the destination is going to stay, the brand is going to last, we have to make sure that we work together to keep St Kitts and Nevis, keep the Federation at the top, very competitive.
Right.
We can't just give up, throw up our hands and say, well, that's the end of that. When the guests start to come back, then I will begin to see what I can do. That can't work. You have to make sure that you are, up there
Positioning yourself.
Positioning yourself. You're in the competition. You're making sure that no matter what happens, you keep in St. Kitts there in the spotlight.
For sure.
So we want to thank those persons who have demonstrated that resilience, that endurance, that sense of pride still, and that confidence that St. Kitts is going to rebound and that we are going to be ready when that time comes.
Awesome. Well, it's Monday, March 15th. It's another week. Jade, we here all week?
All week.
Use the bus. You can't just tell us come back like just don't come Wednesday or something.
No.
Yeah, we can't we can't just get like a few days hiatus.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday.
No?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, bye. Jade just cracking that whip, bye. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's why I'm gonna follow me hat. That's why.
Oh dear.
But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Island Tea. Again, like we said, we're here every day, Monday to Friday, 8 to 10, right here on WINNMedia SKN. Check us out on Facebook. All the shows are there. Check us out on YouTube, as well as thank you guys for going to the Instagram and liking the Island Tea SKN page.
Yeah, we're doing really good.
Yeah, we might gotta get them a prize or something.
When we
reach what?
When we reach 200.
200. Okay, here.
Then give them a prize.
So keep liking the Instagram, guys. Prizes to be won. Jade ain't got nothing. Just don't study Jade. Jade ain't got nothing. But
that is not true.
Yeah, don't believe the hype.
Yeah.
Jade frequently lies to us, so we should
Daily.
probably lie to you as well.
Daily. I believe Jade just lied to us just to make you feel good about yourself.
No, it make y'all feel good.
Oh, okay. I see what's going on.
Sometimes you got to just,
Right.
But Mr. Master of Ceremonies, do us the honors, please.
Remember that you can't be everybody's cup of tea because you is not a mug. See you tomorrow.